Hello everyone, welcome to Visioning Global. My name is Eko Amanzi Anaman, a public administrating expert and data analyst. Today we are diving into the world of SPSS, that's a statistical package for the social sciences, a super powerful tool for data analysis. Whether you're a student, a researcher, or just curious about stats, this video is for you. We'll cover everything from what SPSS is to setting up a questionnaire, entering data, and importing it from Excel. Stick around, hit the like button if you're excited, and let's get started. So what at all is SPSS? If you hear what SPSS, what at all is it? It is a software designed to make data analysis and statistical modeling easy. Originally created for social sciences, it is now used everywhere. From marketing to public administration. When you open SPSS, you'll see different windows. This two buttons, the two big buttons are the data view, where your data lives, and then the variable view, where you define each column of your data. Today we'll explore these views, set up a questionnaire, and then get some data in there. Are you ready? Let's move on. So basically this is how the SPSS interface looks like. We have the data view, we have the variable view, and then we have a lot of information here. You can see the file, you can see edit, you can see view, you can see data, you can see transform, analysis, direct marketing, graphs, utilities, add-on, windows, help, etc. Each of these menus have their own function. So let's go into let's have a practical session using an actual SPSS. Okay, so this is how the SPSS looks like. So as I've already said, this is the data view where you have 1, 2, 3 to 37. We have the val here, and then this is the variable view where we have the name, the type, the wide, the width, decimal, labels, values, missing, columns, align, measure, and then row. Each of these menus have their own functions. As we move on, I'm going to teach you what each of these menus are used for. In the file menu, we have open, which we use to open files. Also, when you want to import or export, this is the menu that you use to import the file. We have the edit, where we have the cut, the copy, paste, find, replace, undo, redo, preference, just like Excel and then Word document. Also, there is the view button where you can you have things like adjust display, tools, grids, fonts, etc. Then we have the data where you can sort, filter, merge data, select cases, split files. We have the transform. So for instance, let's say we have already inputted data, but you want to change the data, or maybe let's say we have ages 20, 30, 40, but you want to put it in a range. You go to the transform and then you recode that variable or that data into the form that you want. And we have the analysis where all the magic happens. That is where you actually do your analysis. Let's say if you want to do independent t-test, you want to do a regression, you want to, whatever you want to do, you do it at the analysis menu. Okay, so the other menus are the direct marketing. That is used for, let's say you are doing a marketing research. You use this menu to do your segmentations and then your response analysis. Also, when you are doing sometimes research, you want to maybe bring in some graphs. When you are doing research and you want to bring in some graphs, or you want some graphs in your research, you click on the graph bottom where you have bar charts, histograms, scatter plots, etc., etc. So you go here when you want to do a graph, and also we also have the utilities where we have the file, variable information, run automatic scripts. Then the add-ons, if you want to add any other if you want to add any other softwares like Python, R, etc., etc. Then we have the window that's manage open. We have the windows where you can manage open windows. Then we also have the help. Okay, now let's move on to setting up a questionnaire on SPSS. Let's look at how we can set up a questionnaire on SPSS. Let's go back to our SPSS. So let's say I want to set up a questionnaire. The first thing I'll do is I'll first go to my variable view. Then let's define certain things. As I've already said, the data view is where you input your data, and then the variable view is where you set up the things that you are going to input in the data view. So here, let's say we have let's have age here. Age. We have sex. We have let's say educational level. We have tenor. Okay, so let's use just the age, the sex, education, and then tenor. So now I'm going to teach you how you go about this. So let's say age, you are using, let's say 10, 20, 30, etc., etc. So you leave it here, you leave numeric here, because you are going to input numbers. The sex too, you are going to use, let's say male and female, but you are going to maybe represent it as 1 and 2. Then the educational level, maybe you can have SHS level, university level, master's level, and then maybe the PhD level. And then let's say 10 now is the number of years the person has worked. So we can have from 1 year to 10 years, etc., etc. Okay, so the width here is the length. So normally, because you are using numeric is the width is not that long, so 8 is okay for the numeric. Then if you are going to use decimals, we can define the decimals. If we want 1 decimal place, we can use 1 decimal place. If you want 2 decimal places, we can use 2 decimal places. If you want 3, etc. If you are also not going to use any decimal places, we can just leave it at 0, or let's leave it at 2. And then the labels. So the label here, this is where, let's say on our questionnaire we have what is your age. So let's say what is your age. Then let's say what is your sex. Then what is your level of education. And then how many years, or let's say what is your how many years have you been working in your organization? Then the value, this is where we are going to define, let's say, so value we have, let's say we have age. So age, since you are going to just put in the numbers, so we have, let's say if the person is 10 years, 20 years, the person will just put it there. Then sex, we have two different kind of cells. So we have male and female. So put here 1, and then here male. So what you are doing is you are instructing the SPSS to say that any time the person sees 1, or any time the software sees 1, that is for male. So we click on add. So we have 1 for male, then we have 2. Let's put here female. So anywhere we see 2, it is what? Female. And we press OK. Now let's go to educational level. So educational level, let's say 1 is for SHS, 2 is for masters, 2 is for, let's say, undergraduates, 3 is for masters, and you click on add. Then 4, let's say for postgraduates, graduates. So if you have realized, when I was writing the educational level, I put in a hyphen before I brought the level, and then when I was doing the postgraduate, I didn't bring any hyphen. What you have to know is that when you are using SPSS, there are certain rules that SPSS has. Something like you don't have to leave a space. You either put a hyphen or you put all the words together. Okay, now we have already input the things that we need for our variable view. Now let's go to our data view. So you realize that the things that I put here, that is the age, sex, educational level, and then tenure, we can find it here. So now, let's say the first person is 20 years. Now we are inputting data into it. Okay, so this is how you set up your data into SPSS. And this is not all. You can have a whole questionnaire. This, just because it's an introductory video, that is why we are taking it bit by bit. But as we move on to other videos, I'm going to teach you how you can input a whole questionnaire. But for the purpose of this video, let's start little by little. As we move on, as we move to higher levels, you get to understand a whole lot better. So for this level, what you have to know is, before you can start entering your data, the first thing you have to do is you have to first go to your variable view, and then you set up the variable view. So the name here stands for what is your age. And what is your age? You cannot put what is your age here. So you look for a shortcut for it. So you put age here. Then the label here is here. What is your sex? Then you put sex here. Then what is your level of education? Then instead of putting the whole level of education, I just made it educational level. And then how many years have you been in the organization? I put in here 10 now. Then your interface is ready for you to enter your data. Now let's move on to entering data. Let's move on to how you enter. Let's move on to how you enter data into SPSS. We have already set up our SPSS. Now let's see how we are going to enter the data. Okay. So let's move on. Let's go back to our SPSS. Okay, so you have already set up. So let's say the first person is 20 years. So you just input 20 years. Then you can use the tab, the sex. Let's say the first person is a male. Enter 1. Let's say the person is an SHS leaver. Enter 1. Then let's say the person has worked in his or her office for 5 years, so you can put in 5 years. You can do for another person. Let's say the person is 30 years. The person has completed the university or undergraduate, so you can put the person is a male, the person is a female. Okay, sorry, the person is a female. So let's input here female, which is 2. Then let's say the person has completed university, 2. Then the person, let's say the person has 3 years working experience. Then the third person, let's say the third person is also 30 years. The person has finished the master, so 3. The person is a male, put in 1. Here the person has completed the master's, you put in here 3. Then also we have, let's say the person has 7 years working experience. Then the fourth person is 35 years. The person has completed the person is a female. The person has completed a PhD, so 4. And then let's say the person has 10 years working experience. So this is simply how you enter data into your SPSS, depending on the data that you have. This one we only have age, sex, educational level, and then tenure. Let's say if we had a whole questionnaire where we had let's say different questions, we had open-ended questions, we had scale questions, we would have inputted all here. But for this purpose, and because it's an introductory video, let's stick to this. As we move to higher levels, we'll get to know and then understand how we can input a lot of data. The next thing is the next thing we are going to look at is how to input data into SPSS. And inputting data into SPSS, as we have already did, we did the manual way of inputting data, and we can also decide to import the data from somewhere else. At times, when you have small data, it is very easy to do it manually. There are times too that you have large or big number of data where inputting will be, or when you want to do it manually, it is going to be a very difficult task. So it's best if you have already inputted the data, let's say in somewhere like Excel, you just import from Excel to SPSS. Okay, so I'm going to take you through the procedure we are going to use to import data from SPSS. So let's go to Excel. So you open your Excel, then you have a blank page. You go to blank page, and then you start inputting your data. Remember, when you are entering data into SPSS, it has its rules. So to be able to input or import data into SPSS, you have to make sure that the data that you are importing follows the rules of SPSS. So just like we did in SPSS, let's see how we are going to input data here to import to SPSS. So you remember in SPSS, so let's go back to our SPSS. You see the age, sex, educational level, tenure at the row. So the same thing when you are entering data in SPSS. Make sure that these things come to the row, not the columns. Okay, so let's say here we have name, we have age, we have sex, we have educational level, and let's add tenure. Okay, now let's input some data. So you can have here let's say a call. He's, let's say, 20 years. He's a male, so 1. Then let's say he has completed SHSO1, and then he has, let's say, 2 years working experience. Then we have here Abba, and let's say she's 25 years, she's a female, and then let's say she has completed the university, so 2, and then she has, let's say, 3 years working experience. Then we can have James. He is 30 years old, he's a male, he has 5 years working experience, and let's say he has completed his masters, so let's put here 3, and then he has 5 years working experience. Let's put here Anas, she's also 30 years, she's a female, she has completed her PhD, and then she has 10 years working experience. Okay, so after you input the data like this, the next thing is you have to save the data so that you'll be able to import into SPSS. So the next thing you do is, so let's go to save as. Then I want to save it at download so that I can easily access it when I go to SPSS. So I look for downloads. Let's say I'm going to save here SPSS 1. So I just click on my save, and I go back to my SPSS. So let's clear this so that we can input. We can do the importing. So I'll clear this. I don't want to save. Okay. So let's go back to SPSS and then see how we can import from Excel to SPSS. Okay, so to import, this is what you do. You go to File, you look for Open, you go to, when you click on Open, this sub menu comes, and then you click on Data. So click on Data, and where the files of type is, click the drop down here, look for Excel, since we are importing for Excel. So look for Excel, click on Excel. Then now we have to look for where we saved the Excel document that we just entered. So I saved it as download. So let me look for downloads. So this is downloads. I'll click on downloads. Now I'm going to look for the file that I just saved. So what you saved was what? SPSS 1. So you click on SPSS 1. Then you click on Open. Click on Open. When you click on Open, this sub menu comes. Always make sure that read variable names from the first row is ticked. So as you can see, it's already ticked here. I just click on OK. And then voila. This is the data that I just filled in SPSS. Now I've just filled the data here, but I still have to come to the variable view to set it up here. Okay, so now you see some of it has already been set up. Because we are using names here, names are not numbers. So the type, instead of using numeric, I'll use string because I'm not using numbers. So I'll change from so you can change. So there are a lot of things that we have numeric, we have comma, we have dot, we have scientific notations, we have the date, we have dollar, we have custom currency, we have string, and we have restricted number. So depending on what you want to enter, if it is numbers, you simply click on numbers or numeric. If it's you are writing letters or something, you click on string. Let's say you want to use dates, you click on date. If you want to use the dollar, you click on the dollar, etc., etc. So I'm writing names, so I'll click on the string here. Then the age is number, so numeric. The sex too is male and female. I use numbers. Education levels too, even though we're looking at different levels, I use numbers. And eternal, so I use numbers. So I'll come here. So you can see here the width. The names is the length of the width of the names is 5. This one I can reduce it to 8 or something, but you let's leave it 12. Depending on the length or the width of what you are writing, you can decide to change the numbers or leave it like that. This one, you can see that we didn't use any decimal, so we have 0, 0, 0. Now, let's look at the label. So the first one is, what is your name? What is your name? This one, I'm writing it because we don't have, let's say we don't have a questionnaire that you are using. We are just looking at how we can do it. But if you have a questionnaire, you make sure you go according to strictly to what is written in the questionnaire. So you stick to the questionnaire. So here, what is your name? Then, what is your age? What is your sex? What is your educational level? And then how long have you worked in your organization? Okay, so now we move on to the values where we are going to code. So for name, we leave it like that. So age, remember the age we used 1 and 2. So 1 for male. So 1 for male. Then you click on add. Then 2 for female. Then you click on add. Then you click OK. So what you are doing is you are telling the application that anywhere they see age, and then okay. So for the age, let's leave it like that since we didn't specify anything for the age. So let's leave it like that. Okay. So the sex is where we, so sex we have 1 for male. Click on add. Then 2 for female. Click on add and click on OK. Then let's go to educational levels. So the educational level, 1 for SHS. Click on add. 2 for university. Click on add. 3 for masters. And then 4 for PhD. Okay, then click on add and then OK. We didn't do anything for the tenor, so the tenor you're going to leave it like that. So that is it. You have import your data from SPSS, from Excel to SPSS. Okay, so in today's session, we have looked at what SPSS is, how to enter data manually in SPSS, and then the last thing we looked at is how to import data from Excel to SPSS. And don't forget that the two main interfaces that we use for SPSS is the data view, where we enter the data, and the variable view, where we code the data, or where we state the things that you are going to, or the things that can help us to enter our data into the data view. So just as a recap, let's look at the various menus and then the things that can be found, and then what we can do in the various menus. So if you remember, the file is where we imported our data from SPSS. So we went to the open, we have new. So let's say we are in one SPSS and then maybe you want to go to another SPSS. You just go to your data, the ones that, so the new here would give you a new interface for you to start entering another data. Also, open database, new query, etc., etc. When you want to close, you click on the close, save as, save all data, export data, etc., etc. Then we have the edit, where you can edit the data. If you want to do certain edits in the data, you can use this edit button to edit your data. So when you move to the next videos, we'll go to how to ascend data, how to ascend data, how to descend data, etc., etc. So the more, when you move ahead, you get to understand the menus better. Then we have the data here. So if you want to split your file, if you want to like, there are lots of things that you can do here. You can merge files, you can sort your files, etc., etc. You can split, you can select cases, etc., etc. Then go to the transform. So when you want to do data, when you want to compute your data, like when you go into actual data analysis, you have to do totals, you have to recode some of them, you have to do a lot of things. So this is the button, you can do that. So compute data is when you want to have totals for, let's say, each of the values that you have entered. And then if you want to recode, you recode, etc., etc. The subsequent videos, you are going to learn about how to recode, how to compute, etc., etc. Now this is where all the magic happens. So there are lots of data analysis that you can do here. You can look for frequencies, the descriptives, cross tabulation, ratios. You can do P's, plot, kills, plot, etc., etc. Also, you can also do independent t-tests. You can do regression analysis, etc., etc. Then when you want to also do some graphs, you can do bar graphs, pie charts, etc., etc. Okay, so this brings us to the end of today's session. I hope to see you for the next video. Just click and like, and then let's have a nice time. Thank you very much, and see you another time.